think we're good. So, all right. This is the success origins of Wyatt Hawkins in real estate. So, thanks for taking the time to do this, Wyatt.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, thanks for taking time out of your day to have me on and talk about a little bit about my business. It's awesome.
I'm excited about it because it's all going to be about you.
Hey, who doesn't like talking about themselves, right?
That's exactly it. So, obviously we both do coaching. We've got great people that help us with that, and this is also kind of a selfish plug too. Like it's like this is like your success, but it's like I'm just so happy to be along for the journey with you. So
right.
So I guess let's give the audience, give the people that are listening, just a little bit of your background, your story. Like what led you to having success in real estate? What did you do before real estate?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So when I first started out, I was actually working for the state of Michigan, and at the time before that, I'll even go back. So before working in the state of Michigan, I was working in school to become a speech language pathologist. Yeah, I had a passion for helping people, and when I was a child, I had a speech language pathologist. I couldn't say my R's. They're very tricky letters.
Yes.
So, I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed working with kids growing up. My mom did daycare for several people.
That's right.
So, yeah, kind of always had kids running around my house. It was fun to play with them anyways. So that kind of led to my passion for speech language pathology.
Sure.
As I got deeper and deeper into it, I realized I didn't so much have the passion for speech language pathology that I might have thought I did. So
did you go to college or university for education around that? Where did your...
Yeah, so I decided in 8th grade I was going to be a speech language pathologist.
8th grade.
8th grade.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
So did you go to university? Did you go to college? What did that look like?
Yeah, so that's a really good question, Ryan. So I graduated Johnson High School 2014, shout out to J-Town. And then after that, I went to Grand Valley State University for 4 years, got my bachelor's degree there.
Nice.
For allied health sciences, and I actually had a minor in psychology as well.
Okay.
So after that, still was on track to be an SLP, that was the plan.
Okay.
After going through undergrad, I applied to grad school, got in. Then I did 1 year of grad school, and it was very evident that was not the career path for me.
Okay.
So, yeah, go ahead. Do you have a question?
Well, yeah, so it's like the passion's there for, helping people and seeing those things that were happening there. I'm actually very genuinely curious about your personal development during that time. What did you learn about that career path or that study that might be helping you today? Because that's an interesting path to go down for a lot of people, and that's a lot of self-discovery, I think, usually.
Yeah, there's a lot. I know everyone always asks, like, do you regret going to college? Since, real estate, you don't really need a degree in, but I'm of the mindset I do not regret. I will say, I regret going to grad school. That would hit the wallet. Sure. But, even grad school taught me a lot. So, one thing that's great is it taught me all about research articles, learning what's valid, what's not, some things to take into account there. In addition, helped me find myself quite a bit, figured out what I enjoyed, how to, kind of strike that work-life balance relationship there. Taught me to work with others really well, taught me, my career was going to be in speech language pathology, so it's all about communicating. So it taught me all sorts of things about how people like to communicate, and also kind of eye-opening on individuals who are not able to communicate or lesser privileged.
Sure.
And so it kind of gave me a lot of empathy for those individuals and just kind of opened my mindset around that as well. So even though, I don't have the same passion for SLP, it did leave quite an impact on my life, and I do believe it's enhanced my ability to assist others in both real estate and just throughout life in general.
I see a lot in the work that you do today, the way you methodically process things internally, at least it looks like to me, you're like thinking about the way you're going to respond to something. I see that today. So with your career, you're working for the state of Michigan. Why did you choose real estate? What was the origins of I'm going to do real estate?
Yeah, so immediately after it was grad school, just scrambled, got a job. State of Michigan was pretty solid, very cushy, and then COVID hit, and so we had a little extra downtime. As I'm sure a lot of people did who were able to work through that time.
Yep.
And so I used that time. I was like, okay, I am 24, I think at the time, 23, 24, and I knew I needed to start thinking about my retirement because I'm of that mindset, and it was just like I needed to be focused on my future finances. It's just the way I grew up, so I had to start planning ahead for that because I know the sooner you get started on that, the better.
Absolutely.
So as I looked into that more and more, I learned about real estate investing, and I specifically really loved the concept of house hacking.
So for those that are not familiar with house hacking, what is house hacking?
Yeah, house hacking is a great question, Ryan. Is when you purchase a property and then you rent out another portion of the property. So some people will do this. They'll buy their first home and then they'll go and rent out like 3 rooms to friends. So that's house hacking. Another way to do it is purchase a duplex, triplex, quadplex, live in one unit and then rent out the others. Mm-hmm. And what's really cool about doing it that way is because it's an owner-occupied unit, you can purchase a multifamily home significantly easier than if you were not living in it. And in addition, you have the privacy of your own unit, so it's kind of like your own little apartment. So you got the privacy there. And then in addition to, if you ever move out, you've got a whole other unit you can rent out in the future as well, which is a huge plus.
Absolutely.
So I was really gravitated towards that, and I was like, I love the idea of being able to get a duplex, live in it for a little bit, and then either go into another duplex or go into another house, depending on where my life is at. It provided a lot of flexibility.
Yeah, that's great. Well, in a market that we're in, where inventory is so limited, for someone that's highly competing against other people right now, that might be another way that they could enter into the buyer pool.
Exactly.
To find something that way, and at almost no cost to you,
right,
other than your down payment.
Right, so. Exactly. And so, that was, I guess it's okay, transitioning a little more. So I got really into the idea of house hacking, and I was like, you know what, I can save money and get early access if I become a realtor myself. Mm-hmm. And so I selfishly got my license. And I was like, you know what? It's also not a bad form of passive income. If I hear people want to buy or sell, I'll help them out along the way. So I started out immediately. I bought my first house because I was like, I got to learn the process. I don't want to be advising other people if I don't know what I'm doing. So I bought my duplex that April. So it's 3 years ago now.
Wow.
Yep, just hit 3 years on that guy. And then after that, I had a couple other transactions the same year, and was still working at the state of Michigan, but was just kind of doing real estate part-time.
Yeah. So talk about that journey between doing real estate part-time to making that switch of leaving the state of Michigan to launch in your real estate career. What was your decision process during that time as you made that transition? Yeah,
so another great question. So at the time, I had a duplex in hand, and I was not happy in the state of Michigan. It was just unfortunate, not a great vibe there. Sure. We'll say, I wanted a little more freedom. I wanted to do more with my time, and I wanted to help more people, essentially. And so I didn't like kind of being cooped up and doing the same thing over and over again. I wanted to get out, and real estate, gave me a way to do that. So when I first got into real estate part-time, I had reached out to you, Ryan, as you had helped my brother with his home, and I knew you did a really good job with that. So,
thank you.
Yeah. So we reached out, or I reached out, connected with you, and then you were actually my mentor during when I was part-time for those transactions. So that helped me along the way too. So fast forward now, I've been in real estate, like 9 months now. Something like that, 9 months a year. And then you had reached out to me, I think like November or December, about potentially joining your team and going full time.
Yes. And
you were like, here's what you're making right now in the state of Michigan. I think if you join my team, I can, get you X amount if you're willing to take the plunge with me, and jump in full time. And it was a lot to think about because it's scary.
It is.
Because right now, if going back, I was at the state of Michigan, so I was like, cushy job, great benefits, consistent pay, just like I could do this for like literally I could have ridden that out forever and been like decently well off and just like in a good safe spot. But that wasn't the life that I wanted, and I knew that. So I was like, real estate, I really, who doesn't like looking at houses? You know, enjoy that. And then in addition, I love people, so you know that's another thing that goes great with real estate is you know going hand in hand. Exactly. And then what made me finally take the plunge is I was like doing the numbers, and it's like, you know, if you can succeed in real estate, you can make a lot of money, help a lot of people. And so I was like, okay, I've got my duplex situation, I'm house hacking right now, I've got my lower unit rented out, most of my mortgage payment is covered. So if there's ever a time for me to do this, take this plunge, it's right now in my early 20s when I don't have anybody else depending on me.
Yeah. I want to give you a kudos too, because you're right, we did that mentoring phase too. So you were in the deciding factor of choosing between one brokerage and where we were at previously with Keller Williams.
Correct.
I'm thankful for having that opportunity to have that conversation with you, because I didn't personally take the advantage of having conversations before choosing a brokerage. So note for anyone watching, have those conversations.
Yeah.
But Wyatt, the reason Wyatt, you were even on my radar to have that question with is during that time when Wyatt was part-time with the state of Michigan and doing those transactions, Wyatt showed every characteristic of someone that I would want to work with. So, and that's led to a lot of our success in conversations today. I'm like, that kid gets it. Anytime a transaction would come up, if he didn't have the information for it, he sought the information. He knew how to properly coordinate timelines, conversations, and when those things would be done. So that way he could strategically talk to every single party along the way. And I was like, from an internal team aspect, that's what I would need. So you were proving yourself to me for a position you didn't even know. So,
well, thank you. Yeah, appreciate that.
But for those listening, like, have those conversations with people. You may not know the seeds that you're planting for your success, and you were doing that just by the characteristics of who you are. So,
well, thanks.
Absolutely. So, first year in real estate, you made the plunge. You jumped in, which those are highly considerable things that people are going to take from what you just shared for a transition that they might be making. What did your one look like? Was it a success? Was it a flop? Were you happy with your choice?
Year one, I would say I was neutral on my choice year one. I was like, I may be relatively happy as I was able to do quite a few transactions. You know, I definitely felt like I got more of the hang of real estate. There were quite a bit of failures along the way too, though. You know, there's so much to learn in real estate that people just don't tell you. And so, like, I was doing it part-time, but I wasn't, you know, prospecting part-time. I was just like, oh, you know, occasionally I'll text people, hey, know anyone looking to buy? Nope, cool, all right, just going on with my day. And then if I hear someone, I'm like, oh, okay, we'll follow up with that person. You know, and then I'm going full-time, and it's like, okay, so now I actually need to, like, what do I do when I get a Zillow lead? What do I do with that, you know? How do I treat this differently than a random coworker who's like, oh, I might know somebody who wants to buy a house sometime this year, you know?
For that first year, sources of business, where was your business coming from?
It was a little bit all over my first year. So my first year I had, it was a while ago. I know we had a few transactions that I had from my sphere of influence. They were really big. Big part of my first year was I had a good group of family friends I was able to pull through and or pull from and get quite a few under contract. We had a few at the time you were paying for Realtor.com, Zillow leads, I think maybe some other ones, but I know we closed quite a few of those in year one as well. We had one expired, which was super cool.
It was cool.
It's bizarre because I have been prospecting expireds. It was like literally one of my first 10 calls to expired ever made, and
gold.
Yeah, we got it, and have not had relatively close to that success since then, which is just baffling. Just funny how that works.
Year one. Out of the business that you closed, everything that was happening. So for those out there, you might be making that plunge. Yes, some leads might come from that, but regardless of the leads, what did you learn about yourself? What did you learn about the business that you made the decision that you're going to continue?
Yeah, so year one, something that I knew going into this was real estate is not something that just like kind of happens overnight. Now, I understand now, you know, if I were to redo it all over, I know I would have a lot more success year one. because there's so many different methods to put in place to get the habits that form success. I didn't know all that, or if I did, I wasn't applying myself to do all of that, you know, so there's a little bit of both of that. I'm sorry, what was your question again? It was...
So, regardless of the sources, what made you want to continue?
Right, yeah. So, year one, I was like, yeah, I'm happy, you know, I made a good amount of money. It was about the same as the state of Michigan. And I was like, okay, I know real estate tends to be a snowball where if you stick it out, you get more and more contacts, you keep up with everybody, you form more relationships by meeting more people, putting a positive influence on them, helping them, assisting them. You can create your bubble bigger and bigger, essentially, and as long as you kind of stick with it and continue doing a good job and your reputation builds, that will naturally enhance your business. I don't care who you are, I don't care if you're doing no prospecting, that just will naturally happen as you go throughout the business. So, year one, I was like, okay, I'm gonna give this another shot. I know that year two will likely be better, and then if I just keep sticking it out, business will come. Yeah.
This is a critical question for me, and you weren't privy to me asking this question before.
That's fair, yeah.
So, year one, and I'm going to make a comment on it from my side too. So, why Pritchard Properties, and I guess we'll leave it at that. Why Pritchard Properties as a team?
For year one?
Yeah, and beyond.
Yeah, so we had a really good relationship. You know, you were my mentor at Keller Williams, so that was definitely a huge part of it. I knew you had success, and I knew you had a good business plan. You're very much you have a very good mind for business, you know, and so I knew that I could learn a lot from you and take those good habits to apply to my own business and find my own way to success. On top of that, you know, like I said, I've been working with you. I knew you had my best interest and that you would be ensuring that I would have success along the way, which you did do in the first year. Some other leads I got, Ryan had just given me some, you know, my first year. And those definitely helped out along the way as well, where it's like, you know, my plate's too full, or maybe it was like, well, let's see how you handle this one. Just kind of those opportunities were helpful as well.
And I say that too because someone on the other side of this camera might be considering joining a real estate team. So the things to consider, I think, for when you're looking at a real estate team, you're going to want to consider an agent that does have too much on their plate, that they are trying to expand. Because admittedly, I had led other organizations of teams of 18 to 20 people, but I hadn't done it in real estate yet. So you also had to navigate waters of someone that was walking into the early part of leadership in real estate. So what that says a lot about Wyatt too is he trusted me to, hey, I don't have all the decisions on what this is going to look like yet, but I'm going to continue to invest in you because his actions, the way he was serving the people and the way Wyatt was growing, he was where we were all going to. So it's like that was an easy investment on our part to say, we're going to do this, and we can do this together because we're both growing in our respective lanes right now. So
right. Yeah, and that's something too where it's like, I'm sure even you looking back, you've been like, I would have done that a little bit on the onboarding line. I would have done this. You know, there were other team members as well that some of them chose to, you know, part ways. And, you know, it's unfortunate, but also I understand it was a little rocky at times. But now I think if we were to, like I said, if we were to do it all over, it'd be so much easier. Like for onboarding new agents and for a new agent to succeed, we've had like proven methods in place at this point where we can just make it very consistent and very easy for anybody else going forward. Where at the time we had some of those habits and a little inconsistent on some, and occasional script practice here and there.
So let's talk about that. So 2022, great year, but you know, and we can synopsize that for them, but I think 2022 was a refining year for us as a team. We grew. What were we going to focus on, right? So if we were to combine your years 2022 and 2023, you averaged a very similar amount of production.
Correct.
Both of those years. What did you take from those years that we'll talk about is being successful now? What was so important about those 2 years?
Yeah, so that's another good question. So year one, you know, you're kind of flying. I was kind of flying by the seat of my pants a little bit. You know, I had year assistants, but it was such a learning year for me. It was more about getting the groundwork, different transactions, VA loan, FHA, conventional. How do they all differ? How do you negotiate? You know, very basic stuff. Then, you know, year 2 expands that even bigger. Okay, cool. Now, how do I clear up, you know, some title work now too? But then also, let's start. Now we're doing a little bit more prospecting. You know, last time we had access to
Land Voice.
Thank you, Land Voice. Yeah, Land Voice. Both years.
Yeah.
And the prospecting was not consistent from me in either of the first 2 years for Land Voice. You know, I had times where I would like be fairly consistent at it, and I would have some conversions, some conversations, but it never really amounted to anything. So what was really cool is, like I said, year 1, I'm laying the groundwork for what is a real estate transaction, essentially, and getting my head wrapped around that. Year 2, I started to kind of experimenting with all the different sources business can come from. I started doing door knocking. I started doing for sale by owners a lot. I started doing more expireds. I started doing I have previous clients now. I have past clients I can reach out to. So started calling on them, talking to my sphere more. So I think the second year was about just trying everything. Like that's really what I feel like I did my year 2, and then kind of refined a lot of my natural business, and you know, gave more presentations. I had more listing appointments. I had more buyer appointments, and you know, maybe I didn't convert as many of them, but I learned a lot every time I did not. You know, objections. That's another one we've. It's crazy. Now we do script practice every Tuesday and Thursday, and people are like, "Wow, you're so good at that," and it's like, I was terrible. I was so bad when I started. Like, I was just like a lot of people are, where you're doing it and you're like, I don't know what to say to that, ha ha ha. And then, like, Ryan's just sitting there dead on the other line being like, this is a conversation you're having with a client. You don't get to just say, I don't know what to say when you're talking to a client. So I was one of those too. And it just, I just learned a lot during both of those periods in different ways.
So, for Wyatt, during that time, he went from servicing a lot of leads that were given to him, because you had to build that knowledge base.
Yep.
And I knew that was going to have to come too. And I had an abundance of things that I just couldn't do, because I was bringing on different commercial jobs, different financing jobs, and different positions where I was at that time. And we were going through COVID. Right?
Yeah.
So part of that too. So getting through that, last year, what I saw, 2022, we implemented Command, which was a CRM system. We all had to learn that and grow and implement that. So we were implementing our touch points.
Yes.
And this is where we start building the behaviors that we have today that build our business. So if you're that person listening to this, well, I don't want to join a brokerage, I don't want to join a team, all they do is they provide leads, that doesn't actually help me on understanding how to grow my real estate business. Yes and no. Because a team should not only be on the list of the things that a team's providing you, the value proposition of that team may be 6, 7, 8, or 9 on the list in a chronological order should say, my team offers me leads.
Yeah.
Right? A team should be offering you value through leadership, participation, systems and operations, marketing, right? There's a lot of different value components. Like, also, for a reason why you choose teams is, not to say, well, actually, from a cost base, why is a team a good cost base for you?
Yeah, totally. That's another great question, because you make less money every transaction because you're part of a team.
Yeah.
And I've actually, you don't know this, but I run the numbers too. I'm like, is it still beneficial for me to be in a team? Yes, it is. Or it's close to it. That's the thing. And I overall, even if the money comes out pretty similar, if I'm like, okay, I take away these leads, I get this lead, blah, blah, blah. Numbers might come out similar, but I'm still learning so much more. We're still going to Glover Summits. There's a lot of value that isn't talked about beyond just like leads and everything. There's a lot to learn. I come to you so often being like, Ryan, what do I do with this title issue? I haven't seen this before. And you're like, oh, boom, I did this like 3 years ago. That's what you do. and I'm sure you'd still provide the same advice as a broker, but there are other people here who might be watching where they're just like wondering about, why would I join a team when I can do it myself? You get a lot more knowledge from joining a team, and not only for Ryan, but there's other team members that are a part of Pritchard Properties as well. and you just kind of get to pool your resources and, you know, just kind of throw things off each other sometimes. Sometimes we don't have all the answers. Another thing too is sometimes you can't always be there. You need somebody who can do a quick showing, and you gotta hop in there, do a showing for somebody. Or it's nice to, you know, you're like, oh shoot, I had something come up, can anybody take the showing? They're like, yes, I got you. So those are some of the other benefits beyond just like getting leads. You know, there's knowledge, and then also it's another nice thing to fall back on when you're talking to any client is it's not just me. If you don't like me, whatever, I have a whole team behind me. So we've got like, you know, 4 or 5 people working just for you. I'm going to be the representative you're going to see the most, but we have a lot of people here bringing value, and we have a lot of problem solvers where if anything comes up during a transaction, we're going to be able to figure this out and keep us on track.
And those are listing the 1 through 7, right? That's boom, 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 listing that. From a cost base, before even consider, so you're running those calculations. Do you pay for your own photography?
Nope.
Do you pay for your own postcards?
Nope.
Do you pay for your business cards?
Nope.
Do you pay for your Glover, your coaching?
No.
No. So a lot of those other things, right, are likely going to be covered by the team. So you have to take that into cost consideration too when you're approaching a team. Is what else are they taking off my plate? And we've changed things for the years. Like some years I'll cover your dues, some years I hadn't. But we also increased it. Like if you had a certain production this year, you're taking.
I'll get bigger.
Yeah,
I'll get more money. I'll get bigger. Yeah, I'll get more money per transaction. My split gets bigger.
I'm sure there is a bar graph out there for the more real estate you do, the more bigger you
Yeah.
get. It's not something we're going to put up on this video. So,
no.
But
that's funny.
So we ended last year. We had switched brokerages. We switched CRM systems. Over that time, Wyatt was helping refine internally, how are we going to use our systems? What does that communication look like? So before we get into what your numbers are looking like this year and projected going forward, what is the daily life and the weekly schedule of Wyatt Hawkins?
That's fun one to delve into. So one thing you mentioned there was you started paying for Glover U coaching.
Yeah.
And so that's a big part of my success for sure. We'd been to, we went to 2 Glover summits, right? Or we did 1 Glover summit and then the other event.
And then one of the road tour things.
Yeah. And there's a ton to learn there. Highly recommend for anybody starting out, even if you're not a part of a team, whatever, you just get to learn a lot. Yeah, honestly, even if you're not a realtor, there's still quite a bit you can learn from those.
Yeah.
And so Ryan started providing me with Glover U coaching this year. And that was a big game changer because now I have a one-on-one coach. So, you know, Ryan was acting as a coach previously, and he was great at answering my questions. He wasn't great for keeping me accountable, keeping me and pushing me beyond what I'm comfortable with, you know? And so that's kind of the game changer was this year. I started working with William Huffman, and he's a great guy, and pushed me immediately. And I was like, ooh, I don't know if I'm comfortable with this stuff.
and there's 2 notes there too, right? One, can I coach? I can. Can I mentor? I can. My bond with Wyatt on our team, while I can have accountability, I also don't want to lose Wyatt. So there's times when I don't want to be as harsh.
Right.
So,
right. And yeah, that's not to disparage Ryan. It's,
no.
It's just to say it's different when there is a, your team lead is coaching you, answering your questions every week and being like, do you need help with any transactions? Can I answer some questions? Versus somebody who's like every week, like, okay, how are you improving this week? Our whole half-hour conversation is going to be about what you did last week, how you can improve, what are you doing, why did you do this, stop wasting your time over there, do this instead, compared to where we just don't have time to talk about that, or we might get sidetracked because it's not as rigid. Where does coaching end and like conversations begin if you just like talking to your team lead? Now, I mean, I'm confident you can answer any real estate related question I have, but when it comes to, being like, Wyatt, send me, I mean, even that I was doing that. I was going to say, so I guess sidebar. So right now, since I started doing Glover U coaching, I am waking up at 6 a.m. every day. That was something we've talked about a lot in the past, is time blocking and figuring out your daily schedule, because work-life balance is impossible, but you can like try to make it a little more manageable with time blocks and staying rigid with those. So previously I had done something similar where I'm like texting Ryan, I'm at the computer screen in front of a plain voice, I'm calling on the expireds for the day. Difference is now that I am taking a photo of myself and sending it to a Facebook group chat of like, what do we got in there, like 40 people from all over the United States?
Pretty much.
Something like that.
It's a big group of people.
It's a big group, and with my clock in the background, my oven clock that says 6 a.m. So everybody knows it's 6 a.m. right now. I'm not lying.
Different outfit every day, something like
Different,
that.
yeah. Sometimes I'm like, I'm just gonna throw this flannel on the floor. Whatever, man. I got got to get there before 6 a.m. That's
Cat
the
on
thing.
your shoulder.
Yeah, oh yeah, I did have some cats in there one time or two. Got two, and then I was like, yeah, this is too annoying. I'm just gonna. Anyways, but yes, rigid schedule. Let's talk about that. So. I started waking up every morning, 6 a.m. Then I would, kind of step into a morning routine. I feed my cats. I brush my teeth. The night before, I started laying out outfit. Something new I've started doing is putting my laptop in front of the door because I've forgotten it 3 times this year. And that's such a big waste of time driving back to get your laptop. That can't happen. So now I hang it on my front door before I leave. Nice. So I can't miss it. Anyway, 6 a.m., take a picture, send it. Morning routine, whatever. Then I go to my gym. I work out there, and then the goal is to be done with my workout by about 8:10 is. So 8, and then I got time to like refresh myself, whatever. Yep. And then I got to be to the office by 8:30.
What starts at 8:30?
8:30 starts, so I start every day by writing down 3 new things that I'm grateful for. So that was something that we learned at one of the Glover Summits. Sean Akor had spoken, and that was one of the ways you could improve your life. And in addition, exercise was also one of them, as well as just like talking about telling people you're grateful for them and things that you've done. So just spreading positivity. Absolutely. And it led to some gains in optimism in like a study that he had performed or somebody else had performed. And so that was, I was like, oh, that's awesome. I would love to be more positive and optimistic. And I think I'm a pretty optimistic, positive person to begin with. So I was like, why not more, So wake up at 6, work out, get to the office by 8:30, write down 3 new grateful things, and then just kind of think about that too in your head. Like, you write them down, think about them as you're writing them down, and then kind of reflect on it for like 2 minutes, just being like, boy, I really am grateful that this new client I'm working with put in such a strong offer. Like, good, they're getting it, it's so nice, and this is like, ooh, I hope they get it. And then there's another one where it's like, oh my gosh, it was so nice, I just got back home, and I got to cuddle with my cats for like a half hour, I didn't have to do anything, something like that. So, stuff like that happens. And it's just nice to reflect on the little wins of the day, and not get bogged down with all the stressors of the world. Okay, 8:30. Then after that, 8:45, 8:50ish, we're starting to go into prep for calls. So a new thing we've done is you are providing the team with sync leads. So
paid Google leads, paid Facebook leads, but I'm not doing anything with them myself.
Right, yep. That's something I've been kind of very hands-on in doing. Ryan, it was kind of like a little test for me. It's like a test and a kind of a case study as well. It's like, let's put some money in here. Why you're going to be solely responsible for trying to convert these. And we found immediate success with Sync. It's been awesome. I have had 2 closings so far, and then we were writing offers for a third. One of them just happened, so that was super cool. So I start my after morning routine 8:45, prep for the calls. 9, start my sync calls. I go down my list of the new calls, and then I try to touch them all 3 by 3 by 3, meaning 3 calls, 3 texts, and 3 emails for 3 days. And then after that, when I run out of people to call, there's a few different lists and filters you can pop on. Once I go through those, so like some people who might have visited the site in the last 30 days, or some people who are like maybe 2 weeks old and are still clicking around, then I just like start looking around for people to call. I'm like, I haven't touched base with these people in 3 months, I'm gonna give them a call.
So from that, so you're starting off with the perspective of self-investment to start the day. You're getting yourself right. You're not coming in at 11 or noon after having done maybe a workout or a coffee meeting at 10 and a late or early lunch. Wyatt has developed the disciplines over the last year to show up and operate your business like a business. Yes, there's lead generation through the brokerage, but the sheer volume, how many people have you had conversations with since December?
I don't even know. Thousands. Literally, it's going to be literally thousands. Yeah, so after my sync leads, I call Vulcan 7, and usually in that I can get...
What's Vulcan 7?
Oh, sorry. That's a site we use to contact expired listings. Yep. And so in that, there's a dialer and just goes line by line by line, calling everyone. And I'll get minimum 50, and like that's like a very bad day if I only get through 50. Like it's realistically, I get at least 70s, like the minimum. Very often I will hit 80, 90, 100 calls there. And so if I'm doing that 5 days a week, or there's 500 calls.
So in the sake of interest of the time, and maybe we have to do another.
Yeah, I guess so. Sorry, man. I was happy.
No, I love it. So developing those behaviors, you do that 5 days a week, right?
Yes, I do. I do.
And then outside, so you do that until noon?
Yeah, until 11. 11, yes. And then after 11, I get my database out because I've had a whole bunch of new contacts. I used to, it was bad, was entering people immediately. That's something else I've learned is like, nope, you keep track of who you contact, you take good notes, and then you get them all in your system afterward and set up your search immediately after that. And I want them fresh in my head too. Yeah. So like, I got to do that at 11. Then I start responding to the emails that have been coming in for the last 2 hours, less texts. Yeah. Because a whole bunch of people are like, oh, what's this property? Oh, I got to see this, Then I respond to them.
And most people we have found are completely fine with you responding same day into the afternoon if you didn't get back to them that morning. Mm-hmm. And if you had to send them to voicemail or something be like, hey, I'm in an appointment, I'll call you right back, mm-hmm. right? So we've developed the morning strategy that Wyatt is using. And then into the afternoon, it's the administrative work into doing showings into the evening. Mm-hmm. One-offs, if we do something in the morning, we just flip the script of what the activity of the day looks like. What other sources of business do you target out for the weekends?
Yeah, so every weekend we hold an open house.
Yeah. How many open houses do you hold a year, do you think?
I'm going to say 52.
I'm going to say more than 52. I'm going to say Wyatt sometimes doubles up his weekends, so he's probably closer to 70 plus open houses.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I said conservatively 52 because I do double up. I would say I double up about a third of the time, but then I'd say once a month something will happen. There won't be an open house. Something will get canceled last minute. I won't be able to get one scheduled fast enough because you don't want to get it scheduled Thursday or Friday. We need some time ahead of that. So, I would say at least 52, more likely closer to 70.
Yeah. So we're going to dive into sources of business real quick. So for this year, what we're projecting for Wyatt on the team, his investment, I would not have made this investment as a team owner into Wyatt to do this paid per click Google and Facebook leads if he didn't have the behaviors to do this. Any person that's on the other side of this camera can make the same choice to invest into themselves. Mm-hmm. The reason we chose Google and Facebook is because we're also running that around our listings to get additional awareness for our listings. Now we've added value to our sellers and our buyers' listing presentations and consults, because we're going to be a very well-known person. If you click on this, you're going to be retargeted on all of our ads. So we're getting organic growth that way too, off of that, because once they start getting into our search criteria, it's going to be there.
Correct. Like I'd say at least a third, probably close to half of the people calling me or that I'm calling in response to their leads are on a listing that we have at Blue Beacon Brokerage. Yep. Because those are the ones that get pushed in the front and that matches their criteria, so they click on them and then I call them and they're like, I'd like to see that.
Yeah. So we grow a lot that way. Uh-huh. Outside of that, Wyatt is actually calling on his database too. So we have monthly touch points for asking for referrals, to doing community events, to doing sponsor events, to doing past client events. Our database knows we love them. Inside of our Facebook groups, we're also allowing them to participate in other ways to just, spring fun events and gift cards and stuff like that, just for them being past clients. So it's also a matter of having the organizational setup behind the scenes to make sure that your clients know that you are still someone that's in business. Mm-hmm. Wyatt has championed and used every single one of those services to continue to keep his name in front of people. That's passive. That's happening behind the scenes. While Wyatt on the same side is very active growing his business. So we're projecting, if we do the low numbers, a 1% conversion, Wyatt's going to close around 27 deals a year from his active business. If he converts at a 2 to 3%, then it starts getting to be between 40 and 70 deals. So 1% conversion is not very high.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work to do all of this, but there is a business strategy in case that you can do. Alternatively, you could pay for Realtor.com. You could pay for Zillow. What's different from that is how they're getting in front of you. We have found, or at least you tell me, what's the difference between a Zillow lead that came in versus one of these Google pay-per-clicks?
Yeah, so for whatever reason, the pay-per-clicks just genuinely want to see the house more. You know, everybody here, I don't care if you're a realtor or whatever, you know that what Zillow is. You know what Realtor.com is. You're going to go, you've been there, you've looked at houses, and so what happens is a lot of these people, they click, oh, want to see a house or want more info or whatever, and then we get notified, and they don't really have any interest in any of that.
Yeah.
Whereas these leads, I'll be honest, a lot of them don't have any interest in any of that. However, for whatever reason, they are talking more, they're converting more. I'm able to be like, can I follow up with you in 3 months? Yeah, sure, we got great rapport, that's awesome. And then a lot of these people are. I've had 2 people who instantly went and got pre-approved immediately.
Yep.
And then I've got several, I don't even know, like 10s, 20, between 10 and 20 people sitting there where they are just waiting 2 to 3, 6, 9 months out.
Yeah.
So it's just all about nurturing those individuals, helping them, assisting them, staying in touch at least once a month, and just letting them know we'll be there when you need us.
Which I love, and we're going to wrap up on that. So this is a great opportunity that if you're considering joining a team or considering a brokerage change or you want more information, this is Wyatt Hawkins, and he's a successful agent, and he's doing things that I know are different than other agents in this area, because that database that he's growing today is going to pay the dividends for the future, because we're going to have tens of thousands of people's information in the CRM passively growing, but also you're setting all of the reminders. You're giving yourself your daily homework to do, so that way when you log in, do the work, but then you also get to shut down. So
exactly, it's important to be able to turn it off. You can't always, that's unfortunately, sometimes I'll have the 8 o'clock hard deadline, and it'll be, well, I have to respond to this, you just do. But we can do the best that we can do, with what we're given.
If they want to get a hold of you, Wyatt, what's the best way that they can contact you?
Okay, best way to contact me, man. Add me on Facebook, Wyatt Hawkins. Text me, call me, 616-485-7824. Email me, Wyatt@bluebeaconbrokerage.com. Any of those are great ways to get in touch. Or come over to House Rules on Thursdays, play some euchre night. Shout out to House Rules. Let's go.
I love that. Free advertising.
Hashtag not a sponsor.
Love it. All right, everyone, make it a great day.
Yeah.
See you later.
All right, see you guys.